Hi everyone, this is Killshot 99 Gaming. This is The Walking Dead. Today we're going to ask the question, did Negan kill The Walking Dead? I guess it's a very controversial topic because YouTube must absolutely hate us. We had the stream ready to go, and that was bizarre. That was beyond bizarre. But we reset. We're going to give everybody a chance just to kind of log in. We've got this invitation all over the internet. So I had a pretty good audience already lined up. Let me thank you guys for being very patient. Thanks for being here. We are going to get this stream going. Before we get too far into it, let me give a special shout out to the Patreon Army. Thank you for everything that you guys do. What an amazing group of people. And we're going to break this thing down. Now, this is not going to be... I'll have some opinions. You'll have some opinions. But there's some big news that hit today. Did anybody see the article from the president of AMC, Sarah Barnett? This is she made a statement that was pretty breathtaking to me about the history of The Walking Dead, and it absolutely had to do with the introduction of Negan. And now for hardcore fans, a lot of you guys that love Negan, this might be something that's a little tough to swallow. This might be like, okay, all right, that's not my opinion. But I have to say, this has been my stance for a long time, that the way Negan was introduced, the violence that he brought upon the group, certainly from an artistic point of view, was very well done. But from a fan standpoint, does not mean that the fans absolutely loved it. And we're going to talk about several different factors today of whether this is an excuse, whether it has some validity, or maybe a combination of both. We got Scott Kernan in the house. What's up, Scott? Good to see you, man. I have not seen you in a little while. Scott says, even if seasons 9 and 10 are good, nothing compares to what the show was in seasons 4 through 6. So, Scott, I think that's probably as subjective as some of the things that we're going to talk about with what the president of AMC said today. I will say that Rotten Tomatoes gave season 10 the best score ever. So there are critics who are watching it that would disagree with that. Now, once again, fans of the show are probably going to gravitate a little bit more through 4 to 6. Much like, Scott, I think you make a good point. Much like fans of the show have no problem with Negan. You guys are all here. And look, I'm preaching to the choir, right? The people that probably need this video the most are probably the people that left the show after Negan was introduced. That's what's going to be kind of crazy about this. So we almost have to answer from our perspective, and then we got to take a step back, and we got to take a look at the perspective of people that might have left the show for some reason. So we're going to talk about that. Let me just kind of state the obvious at this point. How many people here have moved on? You're okay with Negan. You're excited about the show. You like everything that goes on. You're in it to the end. No worries with Negan at this point. We're good. And I think those of you watching the playback, I want to get your comments. Leave your comments in, down below, because I want to get some good comparison. Tamara Smith says, I'm good. Casey, I'm okay. Tammy Hill is good. Busy Bee's good. So, no problems. So, Scott with a follow-up super chat. But the average Rotten Tomatoes score for seasons 4 to 6 was higher. Let's be honest. The saviors in season 6 finale were scarier than the whispers. I don't know about the average score. Let me say this, though. It was big news about maybe a month ago when Rotten Tomatoes kind of came out public and then AMC was hyping it up. I'll have to go back and see what the scores were at that time. But the articles that I saw that came out from both Rotten Tomatoes and AMC even sent it out on Instagram, highest rated season ever for season 10. Pretty big praise. Now, we'll table that though for a minute. Because when we start to look at things that come out as far as average viewers, and there clearly are less viewers, which kind of leads into your point, right? If the show was better in seasons 4 to 6, viewers like that. So, Scott, in your opinion, what made the show worse after season 6? And let me ask this group. How many people like the show better in season 10 right now? You're more into the show, you like the story than back in seasons 4 to 6. Let's just kind of, take the pulse of the audience. So, several people sort of chiming in. I'll say I'm as excited about it in season 10 than I've ever been. Moonshot says about the same. Hart likes them both. So, fair enough. But look, we could ask this question to 10 different people, right? I could ask Scott Kernan, he'd say 4 to 6 was the best ever. I could ask someone else, and someone else would chime in and say, you know what, Kills, the comics are better. I could say, well, what do you think about season 10? I've moved on from Rick Grimes. I asked somebody else, I haven't moved on. Well, what do you think about Negan? Negan was too dark. Okay, what do you think about Negan? Nope, Negan was just fine. So we're going to be all over the place with this. I think it's subjective, Scott. I mean, critics had higher expectations. I haven't personally sit down with a critic and said, what is your measurement device for season 4 versus season 10? If your point is, did season 7 and 8 start to lower expectations? Maybe. I mean, season 7 and 8, I don't think were very strong. But isn't that kind of the gist of what the president of AMC is saying? For some reason, people started leaving the show. But she didn't come out and say, for some reason. This is her quote, and I want to get your thoughts on that before I start to speak of possible excuses of people that left the show. So this is what she said today. She said, and she didn't even say which season it was. I thought was kind of funny. The season with Negan became too hopeless for audiences. Pushed people to a place people did not want to see. That is a tremendously powerful statement. The season with Negan became too hopeless for audiences, pushed people to a place people didn't want to see. So, let me say that I agree with that. I'll start the debate and I'll start the controversy right now. I didn't like it. I thought it was too much. I'm not saying I thought it was too much for television. I mean, I can watch the most bizarre things on television. When you take a fan favorite like Glenn, many people watch The Walking Dead because they love Rick. They love Glenn. They love the characters. And when you not only kill Glenn, you kill Glenn and have this guy howling in the moonlight over his half-beaten body and then just pound the rest of his skull into the ground. Overboard. Absolutely overboard. Too extreme. Too much. I understand what was done in the comic. I get it. But I have made this argument for 4 years. The Walking Dead TV show is not the Walking Dead comic. And for my money, they tried too hard to satisfy the comic book fans with that story arc. There's a lot of ways they could have done it. And if I'm reading between the lines here, now, we could take what she says just at face value, and Lynn Nesbitt says, what does that mean? To me, that means you had a lot of fans that watched the show for different reasons, and when they saw this bizarre psychopath beat somebody down with a bat, they said, this is too much for me, I'm not watching anymore. Would you agree that a percentage of fans left because of that? Would you agree with that statement? I'm not telling you what percentage, 5%, 10%, 15%, But I do agree with her. And I think she's got data to back that up. So, just based on the fact that there's some truth in that. Look, okay, that's example number one. Do you think, aside from the way Glenn died, the fact that Glenn died, some fans left the show as well? Not just because Negan killed him, but because, all right, I liked Abraham, I liked Glenn, the show's going in a different direction, I don't want to watch it anymore. Okay, so now we've already got two major events happening at the same time. We've got a dark, dark story with Negan that the audience, unless you're a comic book fan, did not understand. Who is this guy killing our people when it's supposed to be about zombies? So a good percentage of the audience didn't even understand what Negan was about. So then you also lost two fan favorites at the same time. But there's one more thing that made it worse. Now you've got to undo that, and then you've got to reboot characters on the audience again. Then you got to roll out Oceanside. Then you got to roll out The Kingdom. So now the audience just lost two people that had been here for a long time. They got this evil villain that a lot of people don't like. And then you've got a story that you've got to tell the future of the story and undo some of the extremities that you already did. So these are problems. Now, what she basically did is she just took all of those issues and she put it in a nice little nutshell. So I don't agree with everything she said. Do I agree that Negan killed The Walking Dead? No. I think Negan lost some viewers. I think killing the major characters lost some viewers. I think the story and the writing lost some viewers, and the transition also did. So you got, hey, 5% here, 10% there, 5% there. When you start looking at numbers and you say that, well, the audience is probably 25 to 30% down. Okay. Fair enough. There's your 25 or 30%. Let's not be naive and say that as many people watched The Walking Dead as did in season 4, season 5, or season 6. That's not reality. The show has lost viewers. Fact. I mean, you know, we can argue whether it's better or whether it's worse. But have some people found other things to do on their Sunday nights? Absolutely. Now, as hardcore fans, usually we say, screw them, we don't care. I mean, the show, we love the show, and the show's not bankrupt and is still making money, and the show's still doing fine. Nobody said it's on its deathbed. But this is not a critic making this statement. This is the president of AMC. This is somebody who has knowledge of it and is going on the record, not afraid to say, the way we rolled this out hurt the show. We lost people because of this. And I respect that. And in some cases, you get these people in positions that they take ownership of it. So, did The Walking Dead suffer a decline in season 7 and season 8? True or false? True. Has The Walking Dead started to make a rebound in season 10? Is that true as well? Okay, so here is a president of a major network. I'm not saying stating the obvious, But here's my problem with her statement. And Miss Barnett, I love AMC, love the show, but I do have a problem with your statement. The problem is, why did you wait 3 years to make this statement? Why did you wait till the show is back on the up and up to talk about the problems in the show that you knew were problems 3 years ago? I mean, it's easy to come out and make this statement now when the fans are coming back and there's hype around the show and you got a movie coming. I mean, all those things are great. But we were making this same argument a week after Negan beat down Abraham and Glenn. And then when they killed Carl to boot, we were making that argument. And then anytime the show felt like it had to overcompensate for something, we were making that argument as well. And we called it the Negan Redemption Tour. So, I mean, I hate to say it like this, but look, if Negan was your problem, why didn't you just kill Negan? Change the story. Steph says no. So the Negan fans are going to say no. But if that's what caused your problem, and that's what made people leave, they didn't fix the problem. But they kind of did, right? But they took 3 years to fix the problem. Let's see, they had to put Negan in jail. They had to introduce all the nuances of all-out war. Well, see, Steph, here's the problem. The redemption came through, but the fans haven't came back in droves. And you've got two options. Okay, well, actually, you got three options. So I need you guys to kind of put your business perspective hats on. You can tell a great story that is true to form and artistic and, checks all those boxes you want to check off and nobody watches. And I'm going to ask this question again. If you can tell a great story that is true and artistic and nobody watches, is it a good story? It's kind of like the tree falls in the woods, right? It's probably not a great story because nobody ever watches it. So how can it be a story if people don't enjoy it and share it and partake in it and watch it with other people? It's something, but somewhere between sticking to that, we got to do it this way, and satisfying the audience is that comfortable median that keeps TV shows going year after year after year. And I just think it's awfully where today's big news was the president of AMC kind of disses Negan. I don't think that's what her intent was. I think her intent was to go on the record of saying, well, the show's kind of softened back up a little bit. You got your characters back there. You got people that you can watch. And so now, Negan's a fan favorite. So certainly she was acknowledging, But I think there's a little bit more to it. I think she was taking a very subtle kind of victory lap of look at what we've done with the show. With some strong elements of truthfulness in her statement. There's no doubt that was a dark episode. I've said it multiple times. I've watched it one time from beginning to end. That's it. That's all I needed to watch. I didn't need to see it again. So think about how over the board we are here. We could even tie in our favorite scenes. How many of you guys watching the stream tonight have watched the last couple videos we've done? The Best Scenes Ever Part 1 and Best Scenes Ever Part 2. And we're going to do Part 3 of Part 4, and then we're going to narrow it down to our very, very best scenes. So many of you have said, hey, it's Daryl and Beth, it's Sophia, it's Noah, it's the teddy bear girl, it's Rick in the hospital. I mean, a lot of the older memories. Yeah, there's a few, but not a lot of people have come out and said Rick on the rebar, Maggie and Negan facing off. There were a lot of transitional moments. Absolutely, Gene. I think we've all got our favorite parts of the show. And the reason I wanted to kind of get the artistic feel, because a good portion of our audience are hardcore fans. A good portion of our audience are comic fans. And when I mentioned I'm kind of preaching to the choir, well, I would love to sit down with people that are former Walking Dead fans and tell them how good the show is. The problem is, like many of you have said, they've moved on. How many people here have friends or family that used to watch The Walking Dead that no longer watch The Walking Dead? Okay. Now, I hate to sound super, super brilliant here, but I'm going to do something. This is very easy to do. All right. Table that question I just asked you. This is like hubris. This is pride. This is a little bit of borderline arrogance. Not on my part. How many people have watched our videos the last couple weeks and remember the video we did where we talked about Scott Gimple acknowledging and thanking the people for the transition of Fear of the Walking Dead, but also saying that he blocks out a lot of the criticism for the show because you can't really listen to all of that. You guys remember that? And I said, that's a big, big problem to make a statement like that. If you remember that, let me know. And you're going to see where I'm going with this in a second, because I'm going to take A and I'm going to take B and I'm going to come up with the best possible solution. And I'm going to tie it back in with the artistic value of a show versus the watchability of a show. Now, I don't know that Terminator, shows like that have a lot of artistic value. They got a lot of blowing stuff up and a lot of entertainment. I like to call it kind of senseless entertainment. You sit back and just watch, and it's great, and things explode and all of that stuff. All right, so I'm going to take all 4 of these, and we're going to combine it into one, like the president of AMC did when she combined everything into one and made a statement. So here's the deal. First of all, when Scott Gimple makes a statement like, we don't listen to the criticism too much, that's a bullshit statement. And it's a problem. Because what I'm going to do now is what I just kind of, in a real subtle fashion, did to you guys. Why not ask the people that no longer watch The Walking Dead why you stopped watching The Walking Dead? Easy, right? Don't guess. Don't look at the time frame. Just ask the question. And when people start to tell you reasons and what they liked about it in the first place, then start to shape the story where you give a little bit back to the fans. Well, Heart of Nixie's saying, I bet they did. Well, according to Gimple, they didn't. Because he's saying that they don't pay attention to the criticism, and when people leave, you have to pay it. And I don't know that they could have. I mean, there's not a lot of surveys out there. Nobody called me and said, hey, excuse me, Mr. Kills, just wondering, did you ever watch The Walking Dead? Would you plan on watching it in the future? Well, let's take, and look, I'm not saying you spend billions of dollars and have telemarketers do this. What I'm saying is, there are ways to find out. Tammy Deadly Dime saying, preach it, Kills. I'm going to preach it a little bit because I'm a fan. And as a fan, if you had to bring out Negan and you had to bash Glenn's head in just because there's a small percentage of the fans that needed it to play out that way, you made a mistake. So her acknowledging they made a mistake, okay, that's good. That's step 1. Now step 2 is doing what we're doing in the stream right now. So of those people that you know that stopped watching the show, now I'm going to ask you the full question. Why did those people stop watching The Walking Dead? I know people that stopped watching. I know people stopped watching our channel and they told me exactly why they stopped watching. Couldn't really follow the kingdom thing. I mean, I didn't have a problem with the kingdom, but I think it was just a stretch. Story got too far out there. You got people in the ocean side, and you got a kingdom, and then Negan and the way they torture people, and just didn't make any sense. Busy Bee said her son says because of the writing. Jim Stone says they crossed the line. Didn't like the story. Dead Shred, Season 8, Abe and Glenn. Bottle episode was too much. So, Deadly Dimes, for me, no. I have never had a person specifically call out Negan to me and say, I stopped watching the show because of Negan. And I think Jeffrey Dean Morgan is incredible. But events that happened shortly before, shortly after, that's kind of the, I think the catch-all or the common denominator there was Negan. So some of it is reading between the lines and saying, okay, it's what Negan did. I couldn't follow the savior thing. And look, not only do that, I mean, burn a dude's face with iron, cut a guy's guts out, threw another one in the furnace, laughs about it, had a whole harem of women. He's just all about how many women he could get. Stole Dwight's wife. Mocked him. I mean, look, there's a lot of things not to like about how they portrayed the character of Negan. And C. Ray says, I love the character of Negan now, But there's a lot of people that don't like Negan. They don't like what Negan was doing, and they never gave him a chance to redeem himself. I like to think that a good portion of our audience, that we all sort of came full circle. I mean, the people still here watching obviously have no long-term issue with Negan. Now, let me say this, Deadly Dimes. I will tell you that up until 7-1, and many of you saw this, but when I transitioned to Walking Dead topics, the first big video I did about who could potentially die was 2.3 million views. So that's pretty incredible, right? You know, when you're doing an analysis and it's like, well, I think it's going to happen this way. And, you know, call it luck. But when I went on record to say that Negan's going to kill Glenn and Abraham, it went viral. Now, after that, it was 1 million views. And then it was 500,000, 400,000. And then it was Hidden Clues. So the Hidden Clues were 300,000, 400,000. So is the our predictions on Alpha and the Whispers getting 2 million people to watch? No, they're not. But I mean, when you do Walking Dead content, I don't think you expect every video to get 2 million views. But I mean, I'd say overall, people streaming specifically about the Walking Dead topic are getting 25, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000. Now, there's a whole lot of people doing it, so there's only a certain amount of time in a day, right? I mean, there were 3 people doing it 5 years ago, and now there's 5 million people that put on a microphone and talk about The Walking Dead. But even still, I think if you took all of those and added them together, there's not as many people watching Walking Dead videos. It's just a reality. So what happened? Well, we either bored them to death, which I like to hope that we didn't, or they just stopped caring about what was going to go on The Walking Dead. So, numbers for a Pike lineup, 100,000 compared to 1 million to 2 million before. There was a lot less interest in the Pike lineup and the Red Fair and the Sadiq than there was about the build-up to Negan. Now, see, it was twofold. The cliffhanger was a huge factor, no doubt, Leprechaun. But Season 6 was good. I mean, Season 6 was the build up to it. And Season 7, for a lot of people, was the ending. Well, so Heart of Nixie, that's a fair question. So Heart of Nixie says, how is the revenue for AMC on the show and group of shows compared to early seasons that actually matters? Well, it kind of does and it doesn't. Because people watching TV shows like The Walking Dead in general have tailed off a little bit. But advertisers pay more for less. So even if the cost of an average ad slot is double or triple, well, they can afford to lose 30% of their audience and just charge more money and compensate for it. I mean, there still is some relevance in how many people are watching. But there's not so much relevance in how many people are watching that they're losing money. They're not losing money. And they're the number one show on their network. But do they have half as many people watching as before in their payday? Yes. But the flow through is still probably pretty good. Well, that's a good point as well. Also depends on the audience that they are delivering in the age range. So great point. So here's what Miss Barnett's comment did not fully address. What do you think the demographics of The Walking Dead were when it really, really started? $30 to $50, maybe? $30 to $50 range, is that fair? So, first and foremost, I'm going to say, scrap the teens. Teens were not coming out in droves watching The Walking Dead. Madden will always trump Walking Dead. Always. All right, I'll give you 25. Stephen Kemp, 25 to 49, 25 to 50. Those are fair numbers. Late 20s. Now, late 20s, 30s, when Walking Dead came out, late 20s and 30s, my crowd would not go anywhere. But people on the higher end of the spectrum, let's say someone in their late 40s, early 50s, when The Walking Dead premiered, that might be a demographic that may not have been familiar with the comic. And I'm not saying a total demographic, because look, a good portion of my audience is still in that demographic. But I would not be surprised if some of my audience that was in their late 40s when the show came out, that might have been in their mid to late 50s when the Negan lineup happened, that at that point said, yeah, this is enough. I don't have time to deal with this. So, would not surprise me at all. And I can go back and look at demographics to see what our audience is now. But what's strange, well, it's not strange, but what is unique about this channel is my demographics when I started out was probably 14 to 30, 80% male. Tommy the Tank, I'm so ready to see what the second half of Season 10 brings. Anyway, I am absolutely Tank. And if you guys don't know, Super Chats all this week are all going into our big PDL event on Saturday. We're having a huge pack opening. So I'm going to take just a couple seconds. And Friday night, we will be doing Play Dead Live. It'll be our third edition of the Asylum. If you guys don't know what Play Dead Live is, show up on a Friday night at 9:15. We'll do Freestyle Friday before, but it is real time, your characters, your event, all of the above. Get into the game. You get to play World of Warcraft, Dungeons & Dragons, The Walking Dead. You get immersed in the action. And I'm going to take a quick commercial interruption here because I want to read something to you guys, and I'll promise I'll get back to The Walking Dead. But I'm very proud of the audience that we have watching the players play. I mentioned this to you guys the other night in a stream, and I said, play your characters like you're the star on a TV show. Because people are watching. We have a ton of people watching the playbacks. So this was a comment from one of our viewers. Hey everyone, this is Night of the Living Fred's son. You might have seen him around here. He's one of our patrons, by the way. He says, we work together, listening often in the office to playbacks and all of you. We don't often make it to the live streams, but we just want to let all of you know that we're watching you. We love the crazy antics regarding Playdead Live. Keep it up. We won't be able to play ourselves due to our schedules, but we love to live vicariously through each of you. We are accountants, so January is always busy for us, and we're working on Saturdays. But even if we can't attend and participate, we want to super chat some wild scenarios for all of you guys. The bees in your scenarios last week just had us cracking up. So I mentioned this the other night, that we've got some larger than life characters. We got Tommy the Tank and Cardinal Crawfish and Trigger and Amy Bones, where people are playing these characters and they're getting into the role. So what you do is being observed. So I know you're panicking, you're trying to do it real time, but I just, when I see comments like that, it is the coolest thing that we're telling our own story, we're creating our own game, and every experience is completely unique. And when I hear great comments, I don't get to play it myself, but when I see people interact to it and they're having a good time, then I assume it's a good thing. So thank you for that, and thank you for everything that you guys do. So anyway, my point about the super chats is all the super chats go to pack opening. We do pack openings, and it's gear and items that you can use in game. And it's going to be a big event on Saturday starting at 10 o'clock, so be here for that. A little bit of recap from the Asylum, and then we'll transition to the next one. So kind of a little bit of the demographics. I know some of you said, hey, my kid told me about your channel, and that's why I'm here. So since I've been doing Walking Dead content, my demographics changed from 15 to 25, mostly male, to 25 to 45, 75% female. Now, the male gamers are still out there, but sometimes they tune in for Walking Dead content, sometimes they don't. They're starting to tune in for Playdead Live content, but our audience has shifted more toward a predominantly female audience that listens to me for the Walking Dead discussion. I'm just quoting numbers. Well, Ron, thank you. Ron says, must be the voice. I like to think that it's the healthy debate that we have, and we can come here and discuss and debate, and people aren't afraid to express their opinion. That's my hope. Because I think debating and disagreeing is a lost art. Tommy the Tank. In that case, I'll take 4 more. That comment left really brings the relevance of Playdead Live into perspective. By the way, I'll take 4 more. You got it, man. They love us, and we have fans. Certainly. And if you look at the playback, we have, 800, 900,000 people watching the playback of you guys. That's a pretty cool deal. Where else can you kind of play your own game and have people tune in and just watch you play? So I'm looking forward to challenging you guys more and more and seeing what really silly decisions you make to entertain, because you guys certainly do a great job of it. So look, we've been all over the map today. I know it's a bold statement. Did Negan kill the Walking Dead? No. Did writing, events, Negan, characters leaving affect the viewers of The Walking Dead? Absolutely. There's no doubt that people watch for different reasons. And especially people that had very limited comic knowledge and saw this as a quest against the undead. So let me ask you guys a question, because I'm very curious about this. I'm curious why people watch The Walking Dead. And if you're a comic fan, maybe it's too easy for you to answer because you love the comic and you love the story. But if you're not a comic fan, what is it about The Walking Dead that hooked you? What is it that you thought it was? And did your opinion of the show change? And when did your opinion? Look, it's like a 5-part question. I get it, but they're all related, so it shouldn't be that bad. The psychology of the show? Absolutely, Gina. What will kill the show is fans walking away. So when you do have an exodus of probably 30% of your fans, that's where I want to go back and say, Scott Gimple, listen, I get it. You're EW.com and you're explaining kind of how you feel. And basically what he's saying is, look, you got to take risks. You got to block out the noise. I respect him saying that, but I do think that there's a little bit of overconfidence in that statement, especially when Fear the Walking Dead just came off a sucky season and there's no acknowledgement. Now, he's also put down the gauntlet that it's going to be much better this season, and it better be. It has to be. Crawfish, commercial break. Friday. Come out and see confusion, drama, romance, desperation, and bad decisions mixed in with The Living Dead. Shake it up in a martini mixer and throw it in an asylum. And this is PDL. Let's go. All right, man. That's a great super chat. Hopefully I did it very commercial-like. I'm still available. Call my agent, which is me. I want to do some voiceovers. If you guys have a friend of a friend or you have a product that you want me to market, give me a shot. I think I can do it. But yes, we will mix it up, and I'm really proud of this week's scenario. I'm looking forward to seeing the reactions this week. So, being able to put yourself in a story, feeling the emotions of the characters, absolutely. Trigger, I think that's a great point. So, I started watching it because I thought it was bold. They were doing things that kind of shocked me with zombies. And were they going to find a cure? Were they not going to find a cure? I don't know if there was a lot of jump scares, but I did find myself early on, wanting to kind of stay away from the zombies. They were creepy and cheering for people to run faster, not get in bad situations. So I guess you can only do that so many seasons before you've kind of done almost everything that you can do. And then you got to introduce humans, and then you got to introduce armies, and then you got to change the narrative. But I hear it a lot. I hear that, I started watching The Walking Dead for the human interaction and the relationships and everybody going through something together. I think there's an element of truth in it, but I also think that's the kind of statement that people have said so many times that it's an easy answer for us to give. Maybe there are other reasons we started watching the show, but that's just the one that sounds the best. Because over time, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You see more of the relationships, which kind of makes you think that that's why you watched in the first place. I started watching because that creepy little girl with the teddy bear, and I'm like, if Rick can shoot, I mean, yeah, that's just, it was that shock factor for me. Is there, last question I'm going to ask you guys, and then we'll wrap it up and get ready for tomorrow. What, if anything, would make you leave The Walking Dead? See, if I'm doing a survey, I'm going to ask people who left the show, why they left, and then I'm going to ask people that are still watching to see how much room I have to work and say, what, if anything, would make you leave? Until the end. They killed Michonne. If Daryl dies. If Will the Bill shows up late for another stream. No, not that. Just popped in my head. Nothing. In it till the end. Slow storylines. So, do you guys think that this is valuable data? You think this is valuable data for a showrunner? Do you think this data is more valuable than making a blanket statement like, we got to block out a lot of that noise? Because now, just by looking at the audience we have here and reading some of the comments in the playback, I know what limits to push. I know what risks to take. And Daryl is Michonne. And Michonne is Carol. And Carol might not be Jerry. And what I mean by that is, if your fans are telling you not to kill Daryl, don't kill Daryl. Why? Why do it for artistic value, even if you think that, oh, this would be an epic death? All we got to do is kill Michonne. It'll be the biggest on the show. But then if your fans are telling you that that's a breaking point for them, you just screwed up. And the last question that I have for you guys. It's kind of a go back in time question. The Walking Dead always talks about taking risks. So I don't think killing Abraham and Glenn was a risk. That's why I predicted it. I thought it was something they felt like they had to do to appease both sides of the audience. But that's not my question. My question to you is, if Negan would have just killed Abraham and Glenn would have survived the lineup, do you think more fans would still be watching the show? If Glenn was still in the story to this day and only one person would have died in the lineup. See, that is risk. That's a risk that they could have taken. They could have taken a risk of alienating the comic fans that needed for that to happen and appeasing the television fans that would have probably been, the people that left would have been a little bit more receptive toward having one of those original people out there. And it's very hard for many people in the stream to answer because you guys are in it till the end. So it's a loaded question, right? Most of the people that are saying no are the same people that said, I'm going to watch it no matter what. But to get the true answer to that question would be to go back to the people that quit the show and say, in hindsight, learning from this, that this is what the audience would continue to watch. So, Tommy, I agree with that statement. It might not always make fiscal sense. True fans are true no matter who dies. But there's a lot of people that watch things that aren't in it till the end. There's a lot of people that watch things, and sometimes you have to cater the story to the audience. And I have learned this more than ever over the last 4 months with Play Dead Live. Because in most cases, if you don't have a little bit of element of surprise, we're going to go out and play and everybody's going to die. So you have to cater it toward the viewers. You have to cater it a little bit to add some entertainment value. And when you're in that situation where you're kind of penciling and you're writing and you're thinking about how is this going to, a few times, how's this going to relay? How's this going to transition? How are people going to respond to it? You take a little bit of pause. So last super chat I'm going to get into tonight is Cardinal Crawfish and now Deep Thoughts by Crawfish. If AMC decides to kill The Walking Dead, would it come back after the show turns? Oh, come on now. That's pretty deep. I get it. Or could the rights be picked back up by Kirkman and sold as a miniseries? Or spinoffs. I think Walking Dead has a certain amount of spinoffs left in it. But one thing I know for sure, and it's reinforced by our audience. Hey, I'm not putting on a microphone and doing these streams to get people to stop watching The Walking Dead. I mean, I know what our fan base likes, and I want to be here and I want to talk about the show. But there's nothing wrong in analyzing what people don't like about the show and why people don't watch the show. And we learn more about what our breaking point is and what would push us to the end. And I just find that question just super intriguing. What would it take for you to leave? If you've already lost Glenn, you've already lost Abraham, and if Michonne died, but, I said one last question. Do you think The Walking Dead will lose viewers after Michonne leaves this season? Not talking about if she dies. When she leaves this season, which we know she is, does The Walking Dead lose even more viewers? I think they do. It would be naive to say nobody's going to leave. Like, I'm not telling you how many. I'm not telling she's going to, take 10% of the customer base with her. But I'm just saying I think that there's I think it's not as big as Rick, but very similar to Rick. There are people that stopped watching the show after Rick left. Tommy the Tank, explain to me why the biggest, most important character on the show left, Rick, and the show had its highest ratings ever. It didn't have its highest ratings ever. See, that's kind of a misnomer. It had its highest critics ratings ever. As far as viewership, it was down. I mean, it's not growing an audience. Let me kind of state that. But from a critical standpoint, it got its highest rated as far as whether the show's good or bad. But it doesn't mean that people didn't stop watching when Rick left. Crawfish confirms spaceship abducts Michonne for her exit. That's a big confirmation. None of you stopped watching because you're all here. So my fifth last question. Do you know anybody that stopped watching the show after Rick left the show? Not everybody does. But there are people that left after Rick left. It was just another straw. Yeah, not just because he didn't die, Ron, because some people just wanted to tune in and see Andrew Lincoln's nicely trimmed facial hair every week. Good point. Dark Star said it could have left for other reasons. So look, hey, it's a lot of food for thought, a lot of things to think about. When we do streams like this, I'm not doing them so there's a consensus and we all walk away and say, yeah, we all agree with that. I mean, I was pretty careful in my wording in the beginning to say that we're all going to walk away with this with several different viewpoints, whether what episode we liked best, what our favorite season was, what we don't like, what's our breaking point, who's going to stay, who's going to leave. Is the show better now? I don't have the answers to all that. I have the answers for myself. And, I kind of have a pulse of what a lot of you guys say, stream in and stream out. But I am glad that we still have a loyal fan base that continues to watch it. And I'm looking forward to it the second half this season as much as ever. But for the president of AMC to come out and make that statement, I certainly thought it was worthy of us all getting together. Hey, everybody, with that, I'm going to wind it down. Give me a thumbs up if you guys had a good time analyzing, discussing. Those of you that super chatted tonight, all of your super chats will be consolidated. Kel will watch the playback. She will update the ledger. We probably have sold 220 packs or so for this week. I think we're going to do well over 300. We got a couple more streams this week. We might sell 500 packs for the first time ever. So thank you for all of your contributions, everything that you guys do. Last night was phenomenal as well. A ton of packs sold. And Crawfish asked a little bit earlier about inventory. Inventory is about 90% done. It'll be done tonight. So there's a very good chance that I will do an early stream tomorrow only to put inventories up on the screen, not to equip anything. I'll say, Bonnie, take a snapshot of your inventory. Boom. Dimes, take a snapshot of your inventory. Boom. Move on. So you guys know what consumables you have for Friday night. So tentatively, let's say, be here at 6:30 tomorrow. That way you'll have all your smokes, all your potions, all of those things. You are going to need many of those items. So is that helpful for you guys to jump in at 6:30 tomorrow? Those of you waiting for Walking Dead content, this stream is officially over. Walking Dead has left the building. I'm going to stick around for about 2 more minutes to address some PDL questions and comments. So thanks to everybody who's here for The Walking Dead. If you want to hang out and learn a little bit more about PDL, certainly not going to kick you out. Hang out with us for a little bit. But otherwise, we'll have a Walking Dead topic tomorrow night at 9:30. So for the PDL players that are still here, I've got about 100 more items to put into inventory. So we're pretty close. I've got most of you guys done. I've got all the items taken out. The traded items are updated. But you're not going to be able to equip the items that you purchased last week. But you will be able to use, the best I could do is get the enhancement items there, whether it's a smoke or an elixir or a potion that is going to be extremely helpful for you guys. And I can't necessarily tell you why, but I can tell you it's important to know what you have with those items. All right, we got 1 more minute. Any other PDL questions? If you guys have not had a chance to roll a character, show up on Friday night. You can play a character. We'll merge you into the concept of what we're doing. And then on Saturday morning, we can officially roll your character. So Jason, you will be able to use potions and smokes that you got all the way up until tonight. Everything you see tomorrow will be current. It'll have all your stuff from over the weekend. So if you got Heal Smoke on Sunday, it'll be in there. If you got Thrill Smoke on Saturday, it'll be in there. So the Asylum might get a little bit smoky, but it might need to be. If you got Unholy Smoke, and I think only one person got that, you will be able to use the Unholy Smoke on Friday. Now, when we do the stream tomorrow, there could be the opportunity to get a few last ditch items. So I'm going to do the inventory tonight, 6:30. I will post the inventory. And if we do a pack opening tomorrow, it'll be very, very small. 6 packs, maybe 10. But if there's some more smokes or some things that'll come in handy, then I'll consider that for tomorrow's stream. Well, see, Trigger, if different smokes combine, those effects are going to all happen. That's the beauty of the unholy smoke. The unholy smoke absorbs all of those other ones so those effects don't take place. So if you've got Cardinal dropping a rage potion, and you got Kel dropping a heals potion, and Ron's over there, and he sees those effects getting ready to take place, and Ron drops an unholy smoke, it absorbs it and nullifies it. It's going to be a really, really neat thing to see take place. Like, seriously, I'm going to be racking up on... If I didn't have a healer in my group, I'd have some heal smoke. I'd have some thrill smoke, because I'd always be like raging. And I'd have some unholy smoke. I think we've answered most of the questions. All right, everybody. That is it. Have a good night. We're an hour and 15 minutes. Be here tomorrow at 6:30. Take a quick snapshot of your inventory. Do not ask me to equip anything, because I'm probably going to be here 30 minutes max tomorrow. So it's going to be, take a look at it on the screen, know what you have, be ready to use it on Friday night. And then we're going to do a Walking Dead stream tomorrow at 9:30. If time prevails, I'm not going to promise. 6 to 10 packs max tomorrow night, because I got Walking Dead content we have to go through. We still have to tweak a couple things for the scenario, but I know there's a couple items that people wanted to get their hands on before Friday, so maybe that'll happen. If we don't get a chance to do it, then you guys will just have to wait until Saturday. All right, thanks everybody. Have a good night. Thanks for everything that you guys do. Shout out to the Patreon Army. If you guys are interested in becoming a patron, there's a link down below. You'll get extra polls, surveys, a little bit of insight with me, a little bit of personal stuff from time to time. But check it out. Patreon PDL sponsors. PDL sponsors in March are getting their own PDL pack. It is like it's like one of those Walking Dead supply drops they used to send out. There is a monthly membership fee, so that group really supports the Play Dead Live concept. Amazing group. We do real trading cards. One of the things that we're going to do on Saturday, I know I mentioned this, but hopefully it didn't fall through the cracks, is Saturday I'm going to ask you guys to vote for your best experiences from the asylum, and we're going to take those and we're going to put them on trading cards. So the PDL sponsors will get those in trading cards, and then in future streams we will give out some of those cards as well. So the moderators, Kel, Tommy, Amy, Julia, Ben, that's my kill squad. Thank you so much to each and every one of you guys. They do tremendous work. And one more shout out for our super chatters, our pack purchasing, our PDL players, our members, and also to the 3 super fans that'll be the rest of January. That would be Crystal Singer Chick Gore, Kimberly M, and also Crawfish. Appreciate everything you guys do, and I will talk to you all tomorrow night at 6:30 and also again at 9:30. Peace.